ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It's Friday and we have our stories of hope. It's Kornelia here, and I'm so excited to introduce you to our first guest. Christina Walker has been a private vocal performance coach for over 20 years. She is the CEO of Practice, Polish, Perform, a virtual training program for youth performers. She's a pioneering performing arts mindset training in the youth performing arts industry, equipping the youth to perform at high levels when under pressure and take control of their mental health. You're going to see that by the way that Christina looks, she looks amazing. And she is the mom of 4, ages 16 to 20. So that's pretty extraordinary. And she lives in Dallas, Texas. Welcome to the show today, Christina Walker.
Thank you, Kornelia. I'm thrilled to be here.
So awesome. So do you want to tell us first, what got you started in this line of work?
Sure. Going through high school, I always loved the arts. I loved kind of the singer-songwriter lane. My dad had a heavy influence in my life in music, but I never thought it would be a profession of mine. And as I stepped into college, a field of training really intrigued me called music therapy, how to use music and to help people's emotional well-beings and in the medical industry. And so that's the reason I stepped into music education. I did not end up going into it. But when I stepped into that program, I had to choose if I was what my instrument would be. And so I chose voice, and I started to study the instrument of the voice and performing. And we had to be on student recitals, which I found out that though I would perform, simple things back in high school, I was so shocked when I stepped on that stage in front of the music department faculty, the staff, and other music majors who really grew up in the classical music setting. It triggered my nerves like nothing ever did before. And I remember standing on that stage thinking, just get me off of here. I'll never do this again. I was so nervous, and and it began to impact my voice and how I performed. And it really led me on a journey of trying to figure out, I either have to figure this out or drop out of this program, because I really can't do both. So how am I going to perform through the nerves and be excellent when I do it? And that's really what moved me into this lane. I graduated and ended up doing private coaching for many, many years. And that brings us to today. So that's the short story.
Wow. So that's great. So I was just, listening to you talking about like how nervous you were when you were on stage, and how you were saying to yourself, as soon as this is over, I'm done. I'm getting off of here, and I'm never going to do this again. Yeah. And would you say that feeling of when there's so much, like you said, your nerves were really, you're all over the place, and you were just like, you never wanted to feel that again. Would you say it's because you now have an audience and you are about to experience yourself, in your voice with this energy, because it's all energy, and that is what creates the nervousness, because you have not experienced that before with an audience in this way?
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it is all of a sudden, the risk level just escalates the more we hyper focus on what are people thinking about me, and I'm feeling judged. I was being graded, it was a grade by the professors, and when we're in stage moments, whether parents, you're in a job parents, adults, you're in a job interview or a presentation, those stage moments, if we hyper focus on what are people thinking about me, we really cannot be the best version of ourselves. Instead, we really need to flip the focus. I didn't even plan to mention this, but it's like, if you take out your phone, you're taking a picture of something, you're focused on what you're taking a picture of. But if you ever watch people, I do this when I speak sometimes, and we say, take out your phone, let's turn it on selfie mode. We're going to take a picture of ourselves. Well, immediately, as soon as that camera comes on ourselves, what do we start doing? We start fixing our hair, making sure because all of a sudden it's here we are, and we might not like exactly what we see. So we start really focusing on ourselves. And that's what we can do when we step onto stage, or I call it stage moments, whatever your stage is. We can really begin to hyper focus on what are they thinking about me, and it really drives the nerves up, and it inhibits our ability to perform the best under pressure. So yeah, that's one component of it for sure.
Yeah, I totally can relate to when I used to have a fear of public speaking. Fear of public speaking. I remember one of the ways that I overcame that fear of public speaking was I created an event, and I then had to be the guest speaker the speaker at the event. And so that was, and I experienced it firsthand that, wow, all of that energy, how just how intense everything felt. And but I really wanted to overcome that. I really wanted to, be able to be speaking on stage and not feel fearful to be on stage. Because really, like you said, if you were to take a picture then and look at yourself, how right away we want to start fixing everything. If you don't have a healthy self belief about yourself, all of your insecurities are going to come up. Isn't that right?
So true. Yes. You really have to dive into yourself. And when I take on private students, if they're youth students or adults, I always give a mindset power phrase every month in my studio. And the first one that I always give, and I've done this for 24 years now, is my voice is a one-of-a-kind instrument. And my job as a coach is to help you become the best version of yourself that you can be. And that's all we need to expect from ourselves, is that I'm going to show up and I'm going to be as excellent as I can and be the best version of me. What techniques do I need? How do I need to train my mindset so that I can be fully alive and be me? I just had a spring recital here in Dallas with my private studio, and I was addressing the students in the balcony prior to them coming, and I was reminding them, everyone has their own voice, everyone has their own style, and fully embrace who you are as before you perform, and fully appreciate others for their individual aspects. Because some have these big voices, right? Some have the smaller voices, but they're so full of emotion. But if we cannot embrace who we are and say, I am a one of a kind and I need to be me, wherever we are, then it makes it really hard to show up and be your best and to let those nerves die down. And there's lots of techniques to help with nerves too, but having a positive self-image is huge. It's a huge one.
Right. So that's why you're supporting your students and everyone that you work with to to shift that mindset and to really look at the mindset, like, what is it that you're thinking about yourself? What is it that you are feeling right now with having to go on stage? Are you feeling like you can't do it, or you're not good enough, or whatever those thoughts are? Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, something that I do is that it's so important that we empower our youth, our performers, or you who are listening, that you empower yourself well before your stage moment, whatever it is. In a program I've developed, it's called The Road to the Stage. And because, for example, you hear about an upcoming moment, let's say it's an interview, it's a presentation, it's a tough conversation coming up that makes you feel a little nervous, like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to deal with this. Whatever that quote stage moment is, from the moment we find out about it, we start, I call it a thought engine. In my program for youth, it's just a lot of great analogies and stuff, but our thought engine turns on and we start driving the road to the stage from the second we find out about it. So our thoughts are already thinking about this moment and that's coming in 2 weeks. And if we have to do something with those thoughts that we have, I call them performance. It's performance thoughts. And so I have a method to help to take those thoughts and do something so that we have a strong foundation of thoughts to stand on at that moment. And I call that the P3 mindset method. So that's something that I can teach it here. I don't know how much time we have, or people can check it out.
Yeah, I think we're still good. How long is it going to take if you were just to take us through that?
Maybe 4 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I think we have time.
Perfect. Okay, so here we go. So let's say you found out you have an upcoming stage moment. So listeners, put this into whatever it means for you. Grab something that kind of elicits a little bit of nerves. Okay, that's your upcoming stage moment. You find out about it, your thought engine turns on, and your mind's driving the road to the stage from that moment. Here's what happens. You're going to have lots of thoughts about it. And most of them will be negative. It's just kind of in nature, unless we really trained our mind to have that positive force. It's going to be a negative thought. A lot of us don't do something with the thoughts. And when we don't, our brain says we have a negative thought. For example, I'm getting ready in the morning and I'm thinking about my upcoming stage moment. And I think, what if I blank and forget all my lyrics, my lines, my words, and I have the thought. Most of us, we just go on. We kind of feel like, that feeling of dread, right? Sometimes we actually feel nervous already. And the brain then says, she's having a moment that's going to come up and there's risk involved and it's making her nervous. I need to be hyper aware when that moment comes up that I just release extra cortisol, adrenaline. And that raises your nervous feeling, okay? So the brain's already watching what we're doing, so to say. So here's the method, the P3 mindset method. P3 is practice, polish, perform. That's a whole different thing, but my organization. But it goes like this to help us remember. Lights, camera, action is my automatic reaction. Lights, camera, action is my automatic reaction. Okay, so I have a thought. I realize it's a performance thought. Step 1 is lights. Okay, we shine a spotlight on the fact that we had a thought. This takes so much longer to explain than to do, but I'm getting ready. I have a performance thought, and the first step is lights. Wait a second. I stop and I say, that was a performance thought. It's just simply halting and not letting the brain go ahead, not letting the brain attach a label to it that's high risk, fight or flight response. I got to be ready for this. Okay. So wait, that's the performance thought, lights. Okay. The second step is camera. When I take out a picture, when I take a camera, let me slow down. When I take a picture, it freezes a moment in time. And a lot of times we might label a picture for posting it or something. We give it a caption. Step 2 is to label the thought we just had. This is very simple. It's going to be positive or negative. Let's make it really easy. You're going to be driving on the positive thought road or the negative thought road. I tell our youth. So let me back it up. I'm getting ready, brushing my hair. I have a thought. What if I forget all my words? Stop, spotlight. That was a performance thought. Lights, camera. Was that a positive or negative thought? That was a negative thought. Now, step 3 is action. I have a clapboard back there. We take action on the thoughts, okay? The action that we take, if it was positive, we repeat it. If it's negative, we replace it with the opposite, okay? It's very simple when you look at it, but it makes a big difference. So let me back it up and repeat. Y'all can put this in your own experience. I'm getting ready. I'm thinking about an upcoming stage moment. I'm thinking, what if I freeze and forget my lines? I'm going to forget them. Wait a second, lights. That was a performance thought. Camera. That was a negative thought. It's making me feel bad. I'm taking action on it. I'm going to replace it. Instead of what if I forget my lines, I'm going to say, I'm going to remember my lines. I've practiced, I'm polished, I'm ready, I've got it. I'll be peaceful. Whatever that is positive in the moment, say it out loud. Our brain believes more about what we hear ourselves say. And what you're doing is reframing a negative thought and making it a power-packed thought. And our brain is filing that away. And as we're driving the road to the stage and we get to that moment, the brain has already been trained like, oh, we got all these positive bricks, so to say, lining our foundation. We're going to step out there. We might feel nerves, but as I say all the time, just because I feel nervous, it doesn't mean I'm going to mess up. I am well able to be nervous and perform under pressure. And one of the ways to do it is to use the P3 mindset method. And you might use it 100 times in a day. We would be surprised if we take inventory of our thoughts, that there's a lot of them. And the closer you get, the more they come. So that's a little version. That's lesson 2. I spent about 20 minutes a lesson, and really go into it. And we have worksheets that we go through.
Well, I think this is just amazing. It's not just for, like for performing, it's literally conversation with anything. Like you said, if you have to go for a job interview, any place that you have to communicate your voice, it's not just the stage, but this is life. These are life skills.
Yes.
I did a lot of research on the thoughts that we think. We think between 80,000 thoughts every day. And we're going to be thinking those same thoughts again tomorrow. Yeah. Most of them are repetitive. Like you said, most of them are negative, but I love how you played that all out. It's really, I totally could see how that could shift, how you literally can take yourself from that place of where you were being, could be paralyzed to not be able to show up, but then to a place of I can, by replacing the thoughts the way that you did, the negative thoughts, which is so great. I'm so happy that you're doing this work for the youth out there. Is there a reason why you chose youth as your people?
I've asked that some. I have a heart for adults too. I am one, and I have older teens now who are young adults. I've seen there's such a negative force against our teenagers' minds and our kids' minds right now through social media, and the ability to equip them, to hand them the tool to help them know how to think. That tool is really not out there so much. I think there's awareness is growing, but if we can give them that when they're young, they can really save themselves from so many negative experiences. And as adults, we know often those negative experiences when we're young, even overwhelming stage experiences, they can just lock in and cement, so to say, in our hearts and minds and affect us. So I have a heart for youth. I've loved working with kids, and so I'm starting with them. But the program, I've had many adults who've gone through it to see before they suggest it for their private studios or their private whomever, go through it and say, oh my goodness, I'm using this. This can so help us, So the graphics are designed to appeal to youth, but the content, it really works for anyone.
Yeah, I just think it's so great that you're doing this. Like you said, the youth is at risk. And when we look at it, the youth are our future leaders on this planet. And so it's important that we empower them. Even the work that you're doing, could be taught in the school systems, in homeschooling, however it's taught, but it is an educational piece, and being able to use your voice to be able to communicate what's important to you, your artistic expression, relationships, all the dynamics that make us human. It's important. So let's tell the audience how they can look you up and learn more about what it is that you do. Where can people find you on social media?
Sure. If they would just go to theroadtothestage.com, that site has all my social media on it. It also has a free, free checklist to get 5 boxes to check the week before you perform. And they're not your average. They're to help train your mindset. So there are some things that you might not have heard. So on that site, it also has information about the program I just mentioned. And so I think that's the easiest way, just to tell you that one place you can find it all there.
Yeah, thank you so much, vocal coach Christina, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you, and good luck with all the youth that you're empowering. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's Kornelia Stephanie here. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. We're going to talk about love now. And Andreea Billig is here. She's a best-selling author. She's a thought leader, motivational speaker, and coach. She is the founder of the Project of Love, and she utilizes advanced training in LLP, Sylvia method, and life coaching to guide women on a transformational journey that empowers them to love themselves and love what they do, love who they are. Welcome to the show today, Andreea Billig.
Hi, Kornelia. Thank you so much for having me. And hello, everyone who's tuning in right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. How to love oneself. That's the name of the game, right? Mm-hmm. And like I say, the love story that you cultivate within yourself is the greatest love story ever told.
That's true. And it's the best love story that you can cultivate, because that endures throughout your whole life, right? And when you get there, when you cultivate this love, then that's what you're going to experience in all other relationships.
Why is it so important that we learn to love ourselves where we learn to love ourselves and really go deep into that?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you so much for asking this question. Before I answer, I want to stress the fact that self-love isn't selfishness. Self-love isn't self-centeredness. Doesn't have to do anything with those, states of consciousness, states of being, or I would say like sleep. Self-love is how we are actually born. And we were talking in the green room, right? When we are born into this world, as babies, that's what we are. We are loving. We are loving towards our parents and to ourselves, right? We don't look at our body and say, oh, I'm too chubby, right? And then, right, we, 1 year, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, so we start hearing things like, oh, you're not doing the right thing, all that thing. So we kind of we lose this self-love, which is our nature. And we start questioning ourselves, and we start questioning our self-worth. And then we lean into, okay, I still need to belong. I still need to be accepted. So it's not okay to be myself. There's something wrong with me. I don't deserve to love myself. So I'm going to have to please these people. I'm going to have to give up portions of myself so that I can belong, so that I can fit in, so I can finally be worthy of love. And that's the trap. So when we get back into our loving heart, which is our true nature, and we love ourselves, then I think this is so liberating, because we can finally embrace ourselves as who we are. We no longer look at other people as, how should I say, milestones to compare us to as of our worthiness. So we are just fully embody who we are. We are authentic, and we are liberated to, thrive. That's I would say, a 3-step process: love, thrive, because when you are your authentic self, then you can really bring into the world your gifts, your talents. You're connected with God, with life. You flow with life. All kinds of synchronicities show up in your life. So then you finally thrive. And then you can shine into the world like you do, Kornelia, as your authentic self, as you are. So I think self-love is liberating. It is empowering. It is nurturing. And the best thing of all, it will also touch other people. It's not just about you.
It creates the ripple effect.
Yes, exactly.
Basically, it creates a ripple so that the more the more that you love yourself, the more that you
Yeah.
model that
Yeah.
to yourself,
Yeah.
it creates a ripple effect and then ripples
Yeah.
out to others and gives others permission to do the same if they want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, people who show up in the world angry, and I remember, I watched some of your past episodes, great episodes,
Thank
and
you.
you had a guest, an author, and she was sharing so honestly how she had, road rage and everything in her life. She was that kind of person. And then, and then things turn around once she found that love within herself and the inner peace. And I think, the people who show up in our lives as angry and, trying to put down other people, they don't have a good relationship with themselves. They don't love themselves. So how could they be loving towards other people?
That's true, because it all begins at home. It all begins with each and every one of us. It's like, Gandhi said, be the peace that you want to be in
Exactly.
the world,
Yeah.
be the love that you want to be in the world.
Yeah.
And it starts with you. But I think, we were taught back in the day, I want to say the Piscean age, we were taught to, love the neighbor, love thy neighbor, which I think that's absolutely, of course, important because we are one. But we've left ourselves out of the equation. So love yourself and then love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because because if you don't like yourself and if you hate yourself, how can you really truly love your neighbor?
Yeah, if you're not compassionate towards yourself, if you're not accepting yourself just as you are, and that doesn't mean that you cannot improve. That doesn't mean that you can grow. We are here. I think the purpose of this life is learn how to relax and be just like a flower and be exactly who we are, but also expand. We are here to expand and grow. So you don't have to stay the same throughout your life, but embrace yourself and love yourself where you are. And when you do that, that's the other thing why self-love is so important. Then your relationship with other people, your relationships at home, workplace, your community will shift completely.
Yeah. Yeah. Why did you choose this topic? Do you know why you chose this mission on love? Was there something that was driving you? You knew this, it was clear. What was the
I don't know. I think it's, I think each one of us is here on this planet with a mission, with a message to share. And I think that's my message. And I think also growing up, I was born and raised in Romania, in communist Romania, and I had a loving family, but they show their love the best they could, which wasn't always meeting my needs. So I got to question myself, and I think I craved love the way I wanted to receive it, which is unconditionally. And love is unconditional, by the way. Guys, don't say anymore unconditional love and true love, because this is intrinsic to love. This is already a part of love. So, so I had this quest for love my entire life. And how they say it, like, you look for love in all the wrong places, meaning, I would try to find it in a romantic relationship most of the time. And of course, I wouldn't get it there because I wasn't giving it to myself. So at some point, I realized something needs to shift. And I started a conscious journey of love to love and spiritual practices. And that's how I came to the realization that actually love is here in our hearts. It's already there. And, I've read a ton of books, and I realized that, and by, meeting people, talking to people, I found that there is a lot of still, there are many misconceptions about love, what love is. We think in terms of romantic love or, parents, children. But as David R. Hawkins so beautifully puts it, love is a state of consciousness, our true nature, but also a state of consciousness. So we can access it in our hearts. It's not something that it's without, it's something that's within.
I just want to say, how everything you said. Yes, I agree. And I feel like even when you said that love is the state of consciousness, this is the same way that I feel about heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Heaven is also a state
Mm-hmm.
of consciousness.
Yeah.
So if you're living and operating from that spiritual place,
Mm-hmm.
heavenly place, the earth is already here.
Yep.
And so it's the consciousness that brings heaven to earth.
Yep.
And so it is the consciousness of love that brings love to earth. The love is
Mm-hmm.
already here. It's already in us. Heaven is already here. It's
True.
already within us, right? So
Yeah.
it's that same thing. And we just have to, I think you said a key word is the practices, again, is to create opportunities for ourselves to live in our rituals and be in our practices, because when we're thriving in our practices, the spiritual practices that
Mm-hmm.
we love,
Mm-hmm.
the spiritual practices, doing those things that are authentic and real and true and nurturing and loving and peaceful, those are the things that we thrive in. That's what makes us thrive. So it's great that you're doing this work. Do you offer workshops or one-on-one coaching, or how do you
Yeah.
in?
And I just want to say, about ritual, I love that because I think it's so wonderful, especially us as women. We were taught that, other comes first, right? Our
Yeah,
family. So and no, it's you come first. At least, give yourself like a time of in the day where you come first. And I think like having a ritual, because getting back into this place of self-love, I think it takes time after a lifetime where you were like, oh, I don't like this and I don't like this about myself. It takes practice. So practice is very important. And I think a ritual can anchor this practice into your subconscious mind like quicker, and it's beautiful. So I have a book. It's called I Choose Love, A Journey from Fear to Love. So there are many tips here that will help you to practice self-love. And one ritual that I suggest, like, is every evening before you go to bed, just sit with yourself and give yourself some love and acknowledge all the beauty that's within you and everything that went on during the day, which is, that you did, like all the kind things, all who you are. So create that ritual for yourself where you give yourself love. And I know we don't have much time. So to answer your question, yes. So I have these books. I have this book and I have other books. They are all on Amazon, and I know you'll put a link in the show. You can also find workshops, and you can connect with me on my website, which is agbillig.com. And I currently run it's called the Self-Love Boost. It's a 21-day email program where you get in your inbox a power word prompt for journaling, because I think journaling is a very powerful practice to cultivate self-love, and also a daily mantra. So you get all this in your inbox for 21 days straight, and then you get a bonus. So that's
yeah,
also available on my website. Yeah. Like the
yeah.
self-love boost. We need this.
Totally. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you need that practice. I think even
Yeah.
that self-love boost is part of the ritual. One of my absolute self-love rituals that I love to do and I do daily, and that
Uh-huh.
is, I truly, when I sit down and I give myself my hug, I give myself
Mm-hmm.
a hug, and I always
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so proud. I'm so
Yeah,
proud of
yeah,
you. I'm
yeah,
so proud of you.
yeah,
The same way that I would say I'm so proud of to a friend. I say,
yeah,
I'm so proud of you.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
doing such a great job.
yeah,
Great job.
yeah, yeah.
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 Give yourself high five, or
Yeah.
smile yourself,
Yeah.
and look
Yeah.
at you in the mirror, like look in your eyes. And I remember there was a time where I felt so, I don't know why, so ashamed with myself that I couldn't look at myself in the mirror,
Yeah.
and
It
that was
takes it,
heartbreaking.
we
Yeah,
we we carry a lot with us from the
yeah,
past that
yeah.
we have
That's
to make right. And that's what this is all about.
yeah.
AG Billig, I'm so glad that you came on the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you so much. We're going to take a break, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce you to Nicole Zeno. She's the CEO and founder of Clever Cow Media, and her expertise lies in helping startups and small businesses with marketing and growth strategies. At a young age, Nicole watched as her parents started and built a company from the basement of her childhood home. In that moment, she realized the impact one small business could have on not just her family, but on the whole community. Since then, she's achieved a lot. She's failed at some and had a lot of fun along the way. Nicole dabbled in many different industries, including music, TV, movies, tech, startups, apps, and more. And she's here to tell us about it today. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. What a great introduction.
Thank you. It's so good to have you here. So, I just think, listening to your bio, reading your bio, and looking at you being a young girl and being in your parents' basement with them and them being entrepreneurs. And that's when you learn the things. So how old were you?
So when my dad started the major business that I remember growing up in, I was 9. So I have memories of sitting on his lap while he learned. He literally sold a website without knowing how to build a website, and literally brought home a book and told my mom, we need to open a bank account because we're now in the web business. And so this is in 1999, before YouTube, before there were a lot of resources out there. So I really watched as they, put the hammer to the nail and did it themselves. And it made me have this passion and this love for entrepreneurs and small businesses and startups. And that's really where I always go back to.
So yeah, wow, that's really great. So you were sitting on your dad's lap, and again, it's such an important point, you guys, to sit and look at that, how influenced we are by our parents. And how even though the parents didn't have it all figured out and didn't really know all the things, but there was something that took place that helped guide you in that way to become an entrepreneur yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And you're right. We need great parents out there. We need great parents who realize that their kids are always watching. And it has completely changed the trajectory of my life. So we were very much taught to go, and if there was no solution for a problem, to go find it. And that was something that I've taken through my entire career.
It's so interesting because I'm sitting here looking at you. You look 20. If
I love you for that.
So it's like, okay, I'm just like, you're talking my entire career, it's hilarious. Yeah. So you learned a lot throughout your career. You've learned a lot, and you've failed at some things, as you said in your bio. And what has you coming back? All those things were obviously lessons that you learned and grew from, but what has you coming back to being an entrepreneur? Why be an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, it's the day-to-day, right? I get to work. I have the privilege of working with all sorts of entrepreneurs, whether they are startups, small business, medium businesses, people who I even consider people who are directors of departments, basically entrepreneurs, right? They're running a company within a company. And the one thing that really hit home for me is that when I started really, really young, right out of college, my brother wasn't even out of college when we started our first company. And like you said, I'm not 20, but I am fairly young for me to have such a long career. And the first thing that I ran into was burnout, or, was these expectations of what society wanted. And as you could tell, I'm a young woman, and being a young woman in the tech world at that time was not the best space. There weren't a lot of mentors and things like that. And so I have built a successful marketing agency, but that's really where we've kind of started to pivot, is trying to help entrepreneurs, trying to help small businesses avoid the mistakes I've made and other people in my team have made, right? So we recently launched a new web series called What the Frack, where me and then another co-host, we literally teach business owners how to think about things like a fractional executive. So even if they're not going to be the marketers on the team, they can talk the language, they can think through it from the sense of, okay, this campaign equals this key performance indicator, which gets us to where we want to be. Because at the end of the day, most small business owners and startups, they fail because they don't have the resources or some of the knowledge or some of the people in there to help them get to that next level. And so how do we have everyone learn from each other and build resources for every stage of that journey? And that I want to do for someone what I wish I had, right? That's what we're really doing.
Yeah. And that's really important. I think right now what the key piece, for every entrepreneur, for every small business is, if you can find a way to help a small business owner achieve what it is they need, what is it that they need? Every single one of them is going to tell you they need sales. They need customers. They need, that's what they need. And so how do they achieve that? How do they do that? Entrepreneurs, a lot of times I see them being burned out, not being consistent with their follow through, things like that. Do you see that?
Oh, absolutely. And I like to, this is the kind of media circuit I've been on lately, which is, how do we get out of that burnout? Because I experienced it. I experienced it very young. And I actually my brother said, you need to take a vacation. And for you, Nicole, taking a vacation is getting a 9-to-5 job. Right. So I went and got a 9-to-5 job. I learned all the things and I realized, no, I really am meant to do something else. Right. And so the way I explain it is like building a house. So you can go build a house and you have the blueprint stage, you have the building stage, and then you have the selling stage, right? And we essentially, if we simplify business down to 3 types of companies, you have the startups who work really well in the blueprint stage. They work for years putting together pitch decks, knowing who their audience is, working on MVPs, and then they kind of fail when they get to the execution stage, right? And then you have small businesses who don't think about the strategy piece, and they just go to Home Depot, get a piece of wood and some hammer and some nails, and they start building the product, right? They get their hands dirty. And then you have corporate who's kind of selling. They're really good at selling, but they may be detached from what really needs to happen. So if we can learn, I work with the ACA, the Arizona Commerce Authority here in startup. I've also raised money on my own and started and exited multiple companies. And then I've worked with small businesses. So if we take small business world, we take startup world, and we teach them those pieces, now small business owners, when they're ready to grow, we can think through it in a strategic way so that you are not marketing. There's how many different pieces of marketing, right? We could talk about social media, email, advertising, all the different things. And if you don't know where you're going, you're going to do a lot of different activities that are going to burn you out. Whereas we can say, you know what? This is the goal. Social media, maybe in year 2, doesn't fit that goal right now. Why are we doing it?
Oh, good.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, keep going. I didn't mean to. I was just wanting to say,
No.
Social media. Yeah. Maybe it doesn't fit right now because social media isn't going to be something that's going to give you an immediate return.
Yeah. And maybe it does, right? It just depends on who, and it doesn't even, we talk a lot about buyer personas, like who's listening, who's buying, but we also don't talk about where you are in your stage, right? Just because your buyers may be on that social media. I ask clients all the time, hey, if I got you another 1,000 orders, could you handle it? And a lot of them can say no, right?
Yeah.
Like that's going to take you down. That's going to take you down faster than failure will ever take you down. So we really think through not just where we want to go, what's the goals, but what's the lifestyle these entrepreneurs want in 3, 5, 10 years, right? And how much do they want to be working, and what's the team look like? And we really try to build that plan so that you have your level of success, not just what society says is successful.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that you're doing this, and I love the questions that you're asking, and also how you laid it out. So how does that work? So somebody, tell us the name of your website again. What the frack?
So we have Clever Cow Media, which is really the agency part of our business. So any of the workshops we do and all of that goes through Clever Cow. And then we have whatthefrackshow.com. That is our weekly we have a case study troubleshooting episode, and we have marketers and business owners live, just like you're doing here. I love the live. And both of those are really helping entrepreneurs at different stages. But if you're talking about going from the strategic part, it's really walking us through the idea of what does the business look like now? What does the business look like in 3 years? Not just from a revenue standpoint, but from an employee, from hours, from all of those, the culture, right? What does that look like? And then how do we build the plan in between? And we work through that with clients. I also put out resources so that you can try to do it yourself and try to help everyone at every stage, whether that's a free resource all the way up to a fully fractional executive.
Yeah, that's really great. So how much do you love being in business, like doing what it is that you do? Because you did go take a vacation, you got a real job. And I say real job, that's what people say, that's what that is. Not to say that that's what it is, but that's what people call it. So how much do you love being in business for yourself, being an entrepreneur?
Oh, I know that that's my spot. I would be a terrible employee. I can't take direction apparently really well, because I'm constantly trying to be better, right? And I love working with clients. Most people say they hate the meeting days, and I am the one who's like, give me all of the meetings. I love having conversations like this because every person you meet in that world, you can learn something from, you can see their passion. It's not just a mindless job. It is changing, I may not be a doctor saving lives, but the people who I work with, they're able to feed their families because their businesses get bigger. They're able to employ people in their community. They're able to build a world that they want their family to grow up in. And to me, that is bigger than any of these awards or accomplishments or the revenue number you're making. I know that's really popular right now to put out there how much you're making. And I'm a 6 or 7 figure entrepreneur. That's great. But until you love what you do, until you love the people you work with and see the impact on a daily basis, it means nothing. And for me, it took me years to figure out that that's what my success is. My success is working with these people, having entrepreneurs call me and ask my opinion and like work with them to help them get to that next stage. That to me is success. And until you figure out what your success is, it's going to be hard to move in any direction, feeling confident.
Yeah. I mean, because again, it's you want something that's going to be sustainable, something that's going to continuously keep filling your cup to where you are, enjoying what it is that you're doing. And what you're doing is you are, creating jobs. You are doing all kinds of things to add, to our economy. And that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. So what do you want to say to our listeners? What do you want to say? Like, I'm curious, how much do you work a week? Like, what's your 10-hour a day? Is it an 8-hour day?
It depends on the week, which is what's really great about freedom, right? So on some days we're working 12-hour days. On some days, I get to, like this morning, go and do a run in the morning and then come on here and have an amazing conversation. So if you consider this work, we get to make our own schedule, and that's the great part about it. I get to go tonight and have dinner with my brother for his birthday, right? Like those are things we get when you go from reactive to proactive in your business.
Yeah. It sounds like you and your brother are pretty close.
Yeah, he finally got out of the entrepreneurial world. He works, he has a really high paying job over at Microsoft and he loves it. He's great, but we went quite different directions, but we've run and sold multiple businesses together. So we are very close.
That's great. Being an entrepreneur it does take a special kind of person because you've got to keep your hustle on. You have to keep that on and not drop the ball and remember what it's all about. And it's not an overnight success. It's just not. So let's tell the audience how they can look you up and find you on social media and all the places.
Yeah, LinkedIn is really the best place to find me. But you can also find us on clevercowmedia.com, whatthefrackshow.com. We are on all of the socials, and we will soon be releasing all of our episodes also on anywhere you listen to podcasts. So find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and yeah, come reach out to me. I'm happy to help.
That's awesome, Nicole. I just think it's great what you're doing, and that you're being true to your calling, and you're helping so many people in the process. I'd love to, have you come back for another show in the future and, talk more strategy, talk more, maybe what does it look like in social media if somebody wanted to, build their business in the social media, or even now, especially with AI, the way it all is. There's so much.
Yes.
There's so
I'd be
much.
happy to come back and chat.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning into the Kornelia Stephanie Show. I'm wishing you all a glorious weekend, and we'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.
You've been listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Kornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Kornelia and her extraordinary work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at korneliastephanie.com.